Hello guys, welcome to our channel Anima Anatomia. I am Yash here to present you a very basic but a very important topic, which is general anatomy of cardiovascular system and the circulation. So without wasting on any time, let's get started to the video. So guys, first thing which came in our mind is that what is a cardiovascular system? So cardiovascular system, the term cardiovascular, which means the cardio means the heart and the vascular means the blood vessels. Heart, which is the master organ that control all the circulations in the body, and the blood vessels are the pathway that transport blood to different body parts. It might be your cells, tissues, bones, visceral organs and all. So guys, now we will discuss deeply about heart. Heart is a hollow, muscular, conical organ that act as a pump to maintain the blood circulation. It lies obliquely in the middle mediastinum between the lungs, and about two-thirds of its part lies to the left to the median plane and one-third to the right. And also it rests on the diaphragm. Let me show you in a diagram. So here is a diagram. Here this part is the left one, which is two-thirds, and this is the right part, which is one-third. So, and there is a median plane. This is the body of sternum, behind which the heart is present. And one more thing, there is the diaphragm, on which the heart rests. Now, we will talk about the shape and size of the heart. It is roughly pyramidal in shape, where its weight varies in male and female. In males it is around 300 grams and in females it is around 250 grams. And about the size, it is roughly the size of a person's clenched fist. And let's talk about the length, breadth and the anterior posterior diameter. Here the length is 12 centimeter and breadth is 8 to 9 centimeter and the anterior posterior diameter is 6 centimeter. So now we will talk about the surface relations. It have the anterior surface, which is also known as the sternocostal surface. It is mainly the right ventricle and the part of right atrium and the left ventricle. And next, there is an inferior surface, which is also known as the diaphragmatic surface, formed mainly by the left ventricle and partly by the right ventricle. Next is the base of the heart, which is also known as the posterior surface. It is formed mainly by the left atrium and the small part of right atrium. And next, which is the apex of the heart, directed downward, forward and to the left. It is formed by the left ventricle. It lies in the fifth left intercostal space about 9 cm from the midline, which is also known as the mid-clavicular line. So guys, one more point about it, that the pericardium's apex is in the superior side and the base is in the inferior side, but it is just opposite for the heart. In the heart, the apex is in the inferior side, whereas the base is in the superior side. Let me show you in a diagram. Here, the base is in the superior side and the apex is in the inferior side. Let's move to our another topic, which is the borders. There are 4 borders in the heart: the right border, the inferior border, the superior border and the left border. So in the right border, it is formed by the right atrium, whereas left border is formed by left ventricle and the part of the left auricle. The inferior border mainly by the right ventricle. The superior border, which is formed by the atria, and the great vessels. Let me show you in the diagram. This is the superior border, whereas this is the left border, and this is the inferior border. There is the right border. As we can see, the left border is formed from the left ventricle and the part of the left auricle. Although the superior border is formed by atria and the great vessels, whereas the inferior border is mainly the right ventricle, and the right border, which is mainly the right atrium. And one more thing I will talk about is the cardiac shadow. The cardiac shadow, we can say it is the shadow of the heart, which is formed by three components of the heart, which is the superior vena cava, the right atrium, and the inferior vena cava. So guys, now we will move to another topic, which is the chambers of the heart. Heart is divided by a septum into right and left halves. Each half has an atrium, which is the upper chamber, which is the receiving chamber, and a right ventricle, which is the lower chamber, and it is a pumping chamber. So guys, let's discuss deeply about all the chambers. Firstly, we will see the right atrium. The right atrium, which receives the deoxygenated blood from the superior vena cava from the upper body, the inferior vena cava from the lower body, and the coronary sinus from the heart walls. There is the crista terminalis, which is a muscular ridge dividing smooth and rough parts of the heart. And there is a pectinate muscle, which is present in the auricles and anterior wall, which is present in the auricle and the anterior wall. Next, there is a fossa ovalis. It is the depression in the interarterial septum, which is the remnant of the fetal foramen ovale. So guys, the next topic is the right ventricle. So the right ventricle forms most of the anterior part of the heart. The interior is crescent shaped in cross section. There are the papillary muscles attached to the chordae tendineae of the tricuspid valve and the cornus arteriosus, which is also known as infundibulum. It is the smooth part leading to the pulmonary trunk. Whereas we will discuss about the valve of this right ventricle, and there is the valve which is tricuspid valve, which is in between the right atrium and the right ventricle. So guys, we will follow up to the next topic, which is the left atrium. The left atrium receives oxygenated blood from the four pulmonary veins. Remember guys, there are only two pulmonary arteries which goes to the lungs, whereas there are four pulmonary veins which come back to the heart. And the interior of the left atrium is smooth, and it opens into the left ventricle through the valve which is known as the mitral valve, or we can also say it a bicuspid valve. Why is it so? Because there are two cusps in the bicuspid and there are three cusps in the tricuspid. Now we talk about the left ventricle, which is the thickest of all chambers, about 3 times than the right ventricle. There is trabeculae carneae, which are finer and denser in the left ventricle. The papillary muscle controls chordae tendineae of the mitral valve and opens into the aorta through aortic valve, which is also known as the semilunar valve. Now, we will talk about the valves of the heart. There are two types of valve which are known as the arterioventricular valve and the semilunar valve. In total, there are four valves which are located in the heart. First one is the tricuspid valve, which is between the right atrium and the right ventricle. It have three cusps, that's why its name is tricuspid valve. It prevents backflow into the right atrium. The second one is the mitral valve, which is also known as bicuspid valve. It is between the left atrium and the left ventricle. It have two cusps, that's why its name is bicuspid valve. It prevents the backflow into the left atrium. Now, there is a pulmonary valve, which is between the right ventricle and the pulmonary trunk. It also have the three cusps. It prevents the backflow into the right ventricle. Now there is a aortic valve which is between the left ventricle and the aorta. It also have the three cusps and it prevent backflow into the left ventricle. So the pulmonary valve and the aortic valve are the type of semilunar valve. The reason behind this name is their shape. And whereas the tricuspid and the bicuspid, which is the mitral valve, are the atrioventricular valves. The reason behind the name is because they are in between the atrium and the ventricle. So guys, now we will discuss all the important terms in the diagram. Here is a diagram. First, we will see the right atrium. Then there is a right ventricle, the left atrium and the left ventricle. There are two parts of vena cava. The first is the superior vena cava, which goes to the superior part of the body, and the inferior vena cava, which supply blood to the inferior part of the body. Whereas there is aorta, which is further classified in different branches, which we will talk about in another videos. Aorta, which is divided into different branches, which we will covering in another videos. There are two pulmonary arteries, one right pulmonary artery and one left pulmonary artery. But there are four pulmonary veins. Two are the right pulmonary vein and two are the left pulmonary vein. Let's see the valves. Here is the tricuspid valve, where this is the mitral valve, which is the bicuspid valve. And here is the pulmonary valve, which further transfer blood to the pulmonary arteries. And there is the aortic valve, which transfer blood to the aorta. The septum, which is separating both the ventricles, is known as the intraventricular septum, whereas the septum which is separating both the atriums is known as intra-atrium septum. Now we will discuss about the circulation. Now we will discuss about the vessels. There are arteries, the capillaries and the veins. the major ones. Now we will discuss about the vessels. Vessels are of three types: the arteries, the capillaries, and the veins. The arteries are the thick walled, muscular, and elastic blood vessels that carry blood away from the heart to various parts of the body. They carry oxygenated blood, except pulmonary artery. Their walls are strong and elastic to withstand high pressure from the heart. They branch repeatedly to form arterioles, which then lead to capillaries. Here you can see there are arteries which further divide into the arterioles, then into meta-arterioles, then into the true capillaries, and further it converts into venules. So the second one which we will talk about are the capillaries. Capillaries are the microscopic thin-walled blood vessels that form a network, which is known as the capillary bed, connecting arterioles to venules. They have walls made of a single layer of endothelial cells, allowing exchange of gases, nutrients, and waste between the blood and tissues. They represent the functional unit of the circulatory system. Now we will talk about the veins. Veins are thin walled, less muscular blood vessels that carry blood towards the heart. Remember, the arteries take blood away from the heart, whereas veins take blood to the heart. Their walls are thinner and less elastic than the pressure in the veins is low. Their walls are thinner and less elastic because the pressure in the veins is low. Most veins contain valves to prevent the backflow of the blood. The capillaries join to form venules, which unite to form veins. Here we can see this in the diagram. These capillaries further form the post-capillary venules, which is further converted into the veins. So guys, now we will talk about the circulation. The main circulation is the double circulation, which contains the pulmonary circulation and the systemic circulation. The pulmonary circulation is also known as the short circulation, and whereas the systemic circulation is also known as the long circulation. The other important circulations which we need to know are the portal circulation, the coronary circulation, and the fetal circulation. The fetal circulation is only at the time of pregnancy between the fetus and the mother. This circulation is done through the placenta. So guys, now we will talk about the double circulation. It contains two types of circulation, the pulmonary circulation and the systemic circulation. So the function of the pulmonary circulation is the oxygenation of the blood. In this circulation, the blood goes from the heart, which is the deoxygenated blood, to the lungs, and where the deoxygenated blood is being oxidized and then transported back to the heart. Whereas in the systemic circulation, the oxygenated blood is transported to the body cells, organs, and all. And afterwards, the deoxygenated blood is bring back to the heart. Here in the diagram, you can see the pulmonary circulation, which is between lungs and the heart, and the systemic circulation, which is between the cells, tissues, visceral organs, bones, etc., and the heart. Now we will talk about the pulmonary circulation. The term which is in blue carries the deoxygenated blood, where the term which is in red carries the oxygenated blood. So first, the deoxygenated blood starts from the right ventricles and transported to the pulmonary trunk. Further, it is transported to the pulmonary arteries and then to the lungs. In the lungs, the deoxygenated blood is converted into the oxygenated blood and then transported to the pulmonary veins. The pulmonary veins transport the oxygenated blood back to the heart, to the left atrium. Whereas the systemic circulation pathway, it start the oxygenated blood from the left ventricle to aorta, then it is transported to the arteries, then to the arterioles, and then to the meta-arterioles, and finally into the capillaries. And now the blood is transported to the venules. Venules further convert into veins, and then it drains blood into the vena cava. The vena cava transports the blood to the right atrium. Thank you so much guys for watching this video. I hope you understand all the topics covered in this video. For any questions, you can ask in our comment section, and please subscribe and follow our channels both on Instagram and YouTube.